Speaking of China, Uber CEO Travis Kalanick has issued a big warning saying China will soon surpass Silicon Valley in innovation. Speaking at a conference in Beijing, Kalanick says in the next 5 years there will be more innovation, more invention, more entrepreneurship happening in China, happening in Beijing than in Silicon Valley. Uber's China unit is now valued at more than $8 billion, and Kalanick says he's also looking to hire a Chinese CEO to head up operations there. So what are some of the biggest and most innovative companies coming out of China? Do they really have what it takes to surpass Silicon Valley? Back with us, Bubba Maraker, partner at DFJ, my guest host for the hour, and now Jonathan Ebinger, general partner at BlueRun Ventures, which has a big operation in China. You've got offices in Shanghai and Beijing. Now, we should qualify Travis's statements. He's trying to build a big business in China. But what's your reaction to what he said?
Well, you're exactly right, Emily. It is somewhat self-serving in that he just raised a huge amount of capital in China. But keep that in perspective, that is still a fraction of what he's raised for Uber here in the United States. I think the second thing to think about is we're not really in a competition against Beijing. Silicon Valley, we've had this argument before against other cities in the U.S. as well. It's all on the same side. We're all working for innovation to build global beating companies. So I welcome the innovation from Beijing.
Bubba, what do you think? I mean, you guys don't have offices in China, but you do have money at work in China.
Yeah, no, I think China is a phenomenally interesting market, mostly because it has the largest domestic market for consumer products in the world by number of people. And that will soon, India and then Latin America, when you combine those, you have the opportunity to build massive companies focused on a domestic market that can then expand globally, which has really been the playbook for almost all of the companies that have really gotten massive over the last 20 years. They've just happened to target the U.S. or they've happened to target Europe. And so it's exciting as an investor to see so much new opportunity for companies to go hone themselves, figure out how to scale, and then go global. So I'm super excited, and I agree with Jonathan. It's not a competition as much as it is an opportunity for investors to get involved in even more great companies.
I was recently speaking with Mike Moritz of Sequoia Capital, who said despite talk of bedlam in China, he's still really bullish on China. In fact, he thinks Silicon Valley has a lot to learn from China. Take a listen.
The first thing that you need to do is go there and admit you know nothing. You need to understand is that the market is different, and you definitely don't staff your company in China with people from America or Europe. You also need to understand that there's a very different work ethic in China. People just happen to work a lot harder, so it's a whole new level of competition.
Now, Jonathan, you guys started putting people on the ground in China in 2000?
That's right.
What sort of results have you actually seen from your investments?
Well, it's been a positive experience. The thing you have to remember, just as investing in the United States, is you have to continue to change sectors as markets mature. Back in 2001, we were investing in semiconductor companies. Back in 05, 06, we started taking advantage of the migration into investing in mobile technologies then. And now, in 2015, 2016, we're really looking at companies that are taking advantage of what's colloquially called O2O, or online to offline businesses, taking advantage of the burgeoning middle class there in China. So we think that there's plenty of opportunity. I agree with Mr. Moritz in that you do have to be on the ground. You have to have local folks on the ground. We have local teams in Shanghai and Beijing. Otherwise, we're really just what we call a tourist VC, and you're really be taken advantage of.
Bubba, are you at a disadvantage because you don't have local teams on the ground, or is that intentional?
Well, that's intentional. The DFJ strategy has really been, over the years, we've tried many things, including being an international fund with affiliates around the world. But as we've really kind of honed our own strategy, we've decided to deploy a smaller fund focused with a smaller set of partners. There's 6 of us that focus on opportunities deeply in kind of the wheelhouse in our backyard, because we are on the ground, much to the point that Jonathan's making about wanting to have feet in the ground. It's just harder as a partnership to make decisions when you're spread across multiple geographies. And so we find that the ability to make great decisions relies on us being local and together for that decision making.
Now, Jonathan, as you alluded to, your strategy has kind of evolved in China. And I know initially you were thinking you could globalize a bunch of Chinese companies, and what happened was very different.
That's exactly right. I think Bubba mentioned it earlier, in that it is a really large home market. We had aspirations to take a number of these companies into global markets. So it turned out they were able to have success really staying local. PPTV, a leading streaming TV company. Ganji, a leading e-commerce company. Blishua, these are huge companies, unicorn companies in China that did not really need to expand beyond China, their home market. So we took what the market gave us, and we're happy with the results.
What about concerns about, you know, a consumer slowdown in China? Does that worry you?
I think that the markets, that when you see the slowdown, you have to really remember we're investing in innovation. So innovation, we don't really give our CEOs a free pass based on market conditions. Innovation always is a leap forward over what the current technology solutions are. So we don't really worry too much about the consumer slowdown.
Besides the opportunity to have feet on the ground and great partners there, have there been any other challenges or things you've learned by investing in China, assuming more money will go there? You know, what would you tell another venture capitalist or investor in general?
Well, I think the important thing is to really understand local customs, and that's different than local laws. Local laws are obviously important, and obviously it must be adhered to strictly, but the way that businesses comes together, it is, as Mike Moritz said, deals happen 24 hours a day. They have a lot of really interesting and exciting people who are working to create new inventions, but the important thing is that you have to have the ability to understand the local flavor. It's not bringing, you don't bring a term sheet in from Silicon Valley and say, this is the deal we're going to do today. Right. That won't fly.
Right. Jonathan Ebinger, BlueRun Ventures, thanks so much for joining us. Bubba,
joining us.
You're sticking with me.
I can't wait.